Today we're raising a timber frame. It's a Yestermorrow timber framing class that's taken place in two parts. The first week was a month ago. It's a large project, so we split it into two separate week-long classes. And this is the finish of the second week of class, and we're raising the frame right here.
Keep your hands on it.
This plate is it's too short to make the whole length of the building, so we make that long timber out of three separate sections, and we do what's called a scarf joint to put them together. So you can see at the far right end of this timber that there's a tenon on the very end and a long sloped cut, and what you may not be able to see is a mortise at the other end of that long sloped cut. So another timber is going to come and join this one, and the two tenons will be pegged into the two mortises on either end of the joint. And we'll be doing that again. There'll actually be three timbers to make up the full length of the building. So right now, they're bringing that timber in and they're getting it up onto the staging, and eventually it will be up and it will run from the first bent on the far left across the second bent and the third bent, and then it'll be waiting until we get the rest of the bents up and we can install the next two sections of this plate. Traditional knee braces, which is another term for wind bracing, the diagonal members that you see up there are there to resist the racking force that the frame would experience when the wind blows. We're doing a traditional thing that you find in older frames where the peg holes are offset. It's called draw boring. So when you put the joint together, it's intentional that the peg holes don't line up quite. And the peg, as it goes through the joint, actually pulls the joint together. That offset action of the peg hole in the mortise and the peg hole in the tenon causes, as the peg is driven in there, causes the joinery to come tight on raising day. And it also helps as these, which are green timbers, meaning they're unseasoned timbers, as they dry and shrink, that offset, the peg acts like a spring to bring the joinery together tight as the timbers shrink. The other tool you might see us using a little bit is called a commander, a persuader, a beetle. There's all kinds of fun names for the enormous and comical looking hammer, which is made of wood. You want to make that of a soft wood, eastern white pine in this case, so that it limits how much it mars the timbers as you tap them to bring the joinery together. Pegs in particular are made out of a hardwood. In this case it's red oak, but it's common to use white ash or red oak, or you can use maple. I've used cherry in some cases. Locust makes beautiful pegs. So the pegs need to be a harder wood than the timbers which they're securing. And these pegs are interesting in that they're hand riven, an old style of peg. It's common to use turned pegs these days, but a riven peg means that you split out of very straight grain wood, you split out little square cross-section peg blanks, and then on a shaving horse we use a draw knife and we turn that square cross-section into an octagon, and then we put a little point on the front end of it. And by doing so, you get a peg that's got the grain continuous within it, and it's less likely to break as you drive the peg into the joint. There's no knots in it because we choose really good wood to make pegs out of.